Weird Linux distributions. Believe it or not, many obscure Linux distributions exist out there, some of which are very strange indeed. Today, we are going to check out 3 obscure Linux distros that, quite frankly, I have never even heard of. The first and by far the weirdest distro on this list is called Pony OS. The name says it all. It's an operating system themed to the cartoon My Little Pony, which makes this distro almost as bad as Hannah Montana Linux, except My Little Pony is a kid's show. So if you're an adult using Linux, it might feel insulting or condescending to see ponies from your childhood cartoon show up on your screen every time you boot it up. But if you love this show and want ponies everywhere in your system, I guess you couldn't ask for a better distro. I almost died laughing when I saw this Linux distribution. It really is the other Hannah Montana Linux. Next up, Among Us OS, named after the popular game, Among Us. It's actually called Among Us OS, but it's obviously a reference to the game. This distro is themed like the game, and you can probably even play Among Us on it. I have never played that game as I never got into it, but for those who still think Among Us is a thing, this distro might be for you. Finally, we have Ubuntu for furries. I will say that again, Ubuntu for furries. Yeah, there is a literal edition of Ubuntu, which is called Ubuntu Furry Edition, supposedly for furries, and this has a wacky user interface, but the name of the distro itself is disturbing to say the least. Who on earth had the idea to create such degenerative shit? At least the other systems are nice to look at, and don't sound horrible. This one is not appetizing or appealing to say the least, and if it is deemed usable for furries, the Linux community really needs to be ashamed of itself and make the Linux community a better place, because it's the weirdos and creepy bastards that ruin Linux's reputation for everyone. And why on earth someone thought this was necessary, I honestly don't know, but I am disgusted by this distro to say the least. It really shows the mentality and personality of the people behind this distro. What a crazy fucked up world we live in. I really wish the world was a better place, full of good people. Surely the Linux community could have said, hey, that behavior is not acceptable here, get your ass out of our open source kingdom. We will not allow for trolls or idiots to ruin Linux for everyone. And yet, the very thing that makes Linux great is also its biggest weakness, because anyone can freely distribute the Linux source code and kernel under their own name. So this allows for some rather crazy people to go haywire and create a rather unpleasant operating system, with a rather disgusting appeal to it. So I don't know if complete freedom is a good thing, because look at what happens when there are no rules or boundaries. You end up seeing some disturbing shit, even in areas where you don't expect it, and that's bad. Anyway, I will provide a link to these weird distros in the description below this video. I certainly hope that Ubuntu for furries is not of any interest to anyone who watches my videos. I cannot believe I came across such degenerative crap. It really is an insult to open source software when one has to go and make a distro with pedophile vibes, or creepy ass vibes. God only knows what's lurking beneath the surface of such systems, and that really ruins Linux for everyone, because it may attract unwanted attention from the police, so the cops can also look into the Linux distro and source code, and ask that the developer shuts down their project and removes it from the internet. But this can hurt distros that aren't even remotely related, so if Ubuntu for furries gets investigated, there's a very good chance it may backfire on Canonical, as Canonical own the trademarks to the Ubuntu name, theme, etc. So if someone else uses those without Canonical's permission, it's on Canonical to rectify the issue. So technically, Canonical is responsible for anyone else using the Ubuntu name, theme, and whatever else is proprietary to Canonical software. But this also means that, should the police investigate the disturbing Ubuntu spin-off, Canonical may have to be prepared to face a legal battle or two, as they own the rights to the name, Ubuntu, and it simply means that Canonical may need to put stricter access on using their trademarks, or, they can approve you using their trademarks, but only if it's for legitimate use cases, such as creating a general-purpose Linux distribution with the name Ubuntu in it, or the word, Bunty, and that distro is not designed to do anything nefarious or harmful, even in the message of the operating system, i.e., what the operating system conveys with its theme and background. So if there's no disturbing stuff in sight, it's likely not made by some creepy-ass weirdo, and I am so ashamed of even finding a distro with such a name. It really makes Linux look bad, and what's worse, some people really do believe that Linux is the operating system that only pedophiles and weirdos use, and to hear that is disgusting, shameful, humiliating, and entirely wrong, and it's all because some weirdo created a distro that had rather inappropriate vibes to it. Now it's ruined Linux's picture for everyone, so the Linux community really needs to step up and play their game a bit better, because if they don't, we may see more weird shit like this come into the world of Linux, and that is not something I ever want to see again. So Linux community, Please stop anything like this from happening again. We don't want more people thinking Linux is some kind of pedo-type operating system that only creepy people use. That's not a good look for Linux or its community and developers, and you're hurting the loyal Linux users. When you put an image of a creepy guy onto every Linux system, that makes Linux look like a never-ending horror story. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. See you next video. Bye for now.